Well, joining us now is my dear friend Kellyanne Conway, Fox News contributor, former top assistant to President Trump. Can I just quickly, is Chuck Schumer going to be fired as minority leader? I'm not worried about his election for the moment, but they're going to fire him as minority leader after this Schumerian CR catastrophe?
Apart from all the people that the Democrats made suffer for 40 days for no reason, they just capitulated and caved in a deal that the GOP put those terms up 30 days ago, and they declined it. I think the biggest loser after the people is Chuck Schumer. Why? He's had a really bad week. Started out the week not endorsing Mamdani, who's now a fellow Brooklynite, as is Jeffries, the minority leader in the House. He started out not endorsing Mamdani, and then turned around and wouldn't admit whether he voted for him or not. And now he's totally lost control of his caucus. He's being criticized on the record by rank-and-file Democratic members of Congress. Ro Khanna from California, no socialist or liberal there, is criticizing Schumer. And then, of course, he's being criticized by people like Mark Pocan, who's a congressman left of center in Wisconsin, really taking Schumer to the woodshed and saying he should resign in disgrace.
Who's in their bench
for capitulating.
Who's going to take his day?
Well, that's the whole thing. They don't have a John Thune waiting.
Right.
You know, when Mitch McConnell stepped aside, there was Thune, and Thune's done a great job, as has Mike Johnson as Speaker. Look, I think when you stay too long and your party is moving past you in your own city, in your own neighborhood, that's also the problem here. You know, Trump just has this way of breaking people. He understands culturally, politically, and practically what their soft points are, what their pain thresholds are. And Pelosi's leaving. Biden is just a memory. Kamala couldn't get it done, couldn't win a single swing state. And now Chuck Schumer. I think it's the end of his noble career, the parts of his career where he was respected by the people in his party enough to be majority leader for a long time. But Chuck Schumer has been in government for over 50 years. And this is the way of the people saying it's time for you to go.
So this week's election, you're writing in the Daily Mail, was a referendum on President Trump. What do you mean by that?
But not for the reason people are saying. It's a referendum on President Trump's singular ability to connect with the electorate. That's the electorate that he formed and curated last year, Larry, that was special to him. More Hispanics, African Americans, more union households, more Jewish and Catholic voters.
They lost all that.
More independents. They lost all of it because Trump's not on the ballot. You can have his endorsement, but that doesn't make you him.
But he's never going to be on the ballot.
Well, that's what I say in this piece, that it's a warning to the 2026 and 2028 Republicans that you can tweet and go on TV like Trump does, but that's never going to make you Trump or give you his connective tissue with his voters. So you have to understand, how do you get them? You got to work as hard as he does and win on policy. And I also mentioned Schumer and Jeffries in there. I don't think the wins in these blue states by these two women in governorships of New Jersey and Virginia, who, by the way, never even asked the two women who ran for president, Hillary and Kamala, to campaign with them, never asked Chuck Schumer to campaign with them, never asked Mamdani to campaign with them. Contrast that to Trump. Everybody begs him for his endorsement and wants him to be on the teletown halls, to stand at the rallies with him, to do everything he can to help them. He's the leader of his party, and they don't seem to have one. And I think it's important to recognize that we saw a little taste of this in 2024. Trump won all 7 swing states, but in Arizona, Nevada, Wisconsin, Michigan, the Republican Senate candidates on the same ballot as Trump, who had all the advantages that he gave them, they all came up short. There's something special about Trump. And who on the left has that?
Last one, real quick, 30 seconds. Elise Stefanik will save New York.
Yes, she will. She's got a great plan in place. She's going to be the non-Mamdani. She's going to be the non-Kathy Hochul. I think Elise Stefanik has a great way. She's going to have a great way of burrowing in there and exposing, laying bare the divisions of the Democratic Party right here in the state. In addition to Chuck Schumer, Kirsten Gillibrand, remember her, everybody? She ran for president, got 0 electoral votes, as did Cory Booker and Kamala Harris and others. She is now in charge of the Senate for the Democrats this time. And I think she's going to try to get people left of center. Elise is great. We know her for taking on these universities over the anti-Semitism. Very few of them have improved. She's brilliant. She's a Harvard-trained lawyer, and she knows how to beat Hochul, and I think she's going to give us an example of how to run against Mamdani.
And how to run against Dallas, Texas, and Miami, Florida.
I like
which is also a big problem. Kellyanne Conway, the best of the best. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Larry.